Honor's efforts towards making a name for itself in the mainstream smartphone market have not gone unnoticed. Just this year, the former Huawei sub-brand launched a couple of impressive devices with the Honor Magic VS and the Honor Magic 5 Pro. The Honor Magic 5 Pro comes with some impressive hardware, but that raises the question of whether or not you should go with this phone over other mainstream devices like the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra and the iPhone 14. With that in mind, we're going to take a look at the Honor Magic 5 Pro and see what kinds of features it has to offer users. Let's get started. At first glance, the Honor Magic 5 Pro might look like just another Android slab, but the phone does manage to set itself apart with a premium looking design. The sides of the phone feature a polished metal frame which goes around the Magic 5 Pro's glass build. The phone does come in another variant with a leather back, although the unit we have here features a glass back, which might be a bit more slippery for some users. The Magic 5 Pro does feature IP68 certification though, so the phone will be relatively safe from accidental splashes and dunks in water. We wouldn't recommend that you go swimming with the phone though. The front of the device houses a 6.81-inch LTPO AMOLED display with a quad curved design. And while this adds a bit of design flair, the usefulness of a curved display will be a very subjective matter and will vary from user to user. The display looks terrific thanks to its 120Hz refresh rate and a pretty robust 1312 by 2800 48 pixel resolution. It gets pretty bright at 1800 nits of maximum brightness, and I had no trouble viewing the display when using it outdoors. It's also great for content consumption and gaming, and is definitely one of the strengths of this phone. The display also houses the front camera, which comes with a depth and biometric sensor for the face unlock function. 3D face unlock is something not usually seen in a lot of Android phones, and it's certainly nice to see Honor incorporate the feature with this device. There's also an in-display fingerprint sensor, which works nice and fast, unlike the somewhat slower in-display fingerprint scanners on Pixel phones, for example. The rear panel of the phone houses the triple lens camera, which we'll talk about more later, and follows the recent design trend of circular camera modules, which we've seen on other manufacturers like Xiaomi, OnePlus, Oppo, and Vivo. It is a pretty large camera bump however, so we'd recommend using a case of some sort to keep it safe from scratches. The phone also features a dual speaker setup which manages to sound loud enough, although I would have preferred a more powerful bass sound. Check out the sample.
New foldable smartphone, but we're going to be doing a full video on that. But in this video, we're actually going to do a quick camera.
Overall, the Honor Magic 5 Pro is built rather well with a premium look to it, although again I would strongly suggest using a case for the phone as the glass design does pose a vulnerability in terms of handling. Now inside the Magic 5 Pro is the almighty Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 chipset. This is paired with an Adreno 740 GPU, and coming from a Google Tensor powered smartphone, I was impressed with the performance on the 8 Gen 2. The phone had no trouble running graphics intensive apps and games thanks to the 12 gigs of RAM inside. By comparison, this is a lot more RAM than we get on most laptops. Day-to-day tasks are also seamless on the Magic 5 Pro, and navigating through the user interface, switching between apps, and using the phone regularly is a breeze. It's worth noting that this hardware configuration means that the phone is capable of ray tracing in games, although at the moment there's not a lot of software that's readily available on the market that makes use of this feature. On the other hand, it is a great way to future-proof the device if and when we do get more graphics-intensive games with ray tracing features in the near future. Going for the 12GB RAM version of the phone means that you also get 512 gigs of internal storage, and while there's no SD card slot on here, we'd like to think that the storage capacity is more than enough for a majority of users out there. Of course, there is a slightly affordable version of the phone, which does come with 256 gigs storage, although you are limited to 8 gigs of RAM. In terms of software, the Magic 5 Pro ships with Android 13, which is layered with Magic UI, Honor's proprietary user interface. As with most non-Google Android phones, the device comes with a heavily modified interface, which means that there will be third-party apps pre-installed with the phone. If you were looking for a clean version of Android like you would find on a Pixel phone or maybe a Nokia device for example, then you're not going to find it here. With that being said though, this means that the phone will come with some useful software features that aren't always available on other Android phones. All in all though, the Magic 5 Pro is a solid performer, and if you're after a capable high-end smartphone, then the Honor Magic 5 Pro can definitely live up to most expectations. Now the phone runs on a massive 5100 mAh battery, which comes with support for 66 watts fast charging and 50 watts wireless charging speeds, which outperform a lot of other phones out there. Battery endurance is pretty decent, and I could get a day's worth of use with moderate tasks such as data usage, web browsing, and occasional content consumption. Of course, gaming on the phone will drain the battery a bit faster, especially if you like to play a lot of graphics intensive titles. Now for cameras, the Honor Magic 5 Pro comes with a triple camera setup on the rear panel, which includes a 50 megapixel wide camera with f1.6 aperture, and this is accompanied by a 50 megapixel ultra-wide camera with f2.0 aperture, and a 50 megapixel Sony IMX858 sensor telephoto camera with f3.0 aperture. It also comes with 3.5x optical zoom and 100x digital zoom. It's a really solid hardware setup and should be more than enough for most people looking for a good camera phone. The phone will be able to record a maximum of 4K video resolution at up to 60 frames per second on the main camera, while the other cameras are limited to 4K video at 30 frames per second. Video quality looks mostly good with decent stabilization, although I did find that sometimes the camera will struggle when adapting to the exposure of a particular shot. Meanwhile, the front camera comes with a fixed focus 12 megapixel lens with f2.4 aperture. For social media posts, it should be good enough, and ultimately personal preference will play a factor in terms of how you want your photos to look, especially when comparing the Magic 5 Pro to other smartphone cameras. To sum things up, the Honor Magic 5 Pro is an impressive all-around powerhouse. The phone comes with some capable internals and processing power, has good cameras, impressive battery life, and a slick-looking design. It is the very definition of a flagship phone, and Honor fans will definitely want to get their hands on this one. It's also a solid bet if you're looking to test the waters and see what Honor has to offer when it comes to Android smartphones. It is priced at around $1,200 when converted, placing it in the league of other high-end devices like the iPhone 14 Pro and the Samsung Galaxy S23 Ultra. It should be said that it's moments like these where factors like the iPhone's compatibility with the Apple ecosystem or the S23 Ultra's added productivity features might sway your purchase decision. But if all you're after is an Android flagship smartphone with great hardware and all the essentials, then the Magic 5 Pro is definitely worth getting. Alright guys, so that does it for this quick review. Let us know your thoughts about the Honor Magic 5 Pro in the comments below. Do you have the phone? Do you have experience using it? Or are you just planning to get it right now? And yeah, don't forget to check out our other videos here on Phandroid, and of course our articles on phandroid.com. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.